Okay? But I want you to treat me as a pupil at the partly trained stage. I've had lessons with another instructor. Man's got the same car as you, so I'm familiar with the controls, but he can't make it today.
Okay.
So I've never met you before. Yeah, my instructor today said he was going to teach me about meeting.
Okay.
Clearance, that's clearance ahead and to the sides, and to a certain extent behind. And he was going to look at my general anticipation.
Okay.
Yeah, so for this phase you can call me Tony.
Okay.
So what level am I?
Partly trained.
Yeah, and the subjects?
Meeting, clearance and anticipation.
That's it. Right, so I'll hand over to you if you're happy with that.
Okay. Hiya, I'm Sam.
Hi Sam, nice to meet you.
And you too. I spoke to your instructor last night. He said that today he was planning to talk about meeting, clearance and your general anticipation.
That's what you said, yeah.
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 Okay. So if we go through some pictures, just so you know what they mean. Okay. So with meeting and clearance, anticipation is a big thing, because if you're driving along and you've got parked cars on your left hand side and a car coming towards you, you've got to anticipate what that car's going to do. You've also got to anticipate that people could step out from behind those cars.
Just out of roll. Is it possible that I might have an idea about anticipation, yeah?
Yeah.
As I have had some driving lessons.
That's fine, yeah. Okay.
So could you ask me?
Yeah.
Right, back and roll then.
Okay. So for the anticipation, with these meeting situations, for instance, you've got cars parked on your left here.
No, I mean, what does anticipation mean to me?
What does anticipation mean to you?
Oh, I think it's me trying to work out what somebody does before they do it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so it comes into play with meeting and clearance. Because your general driving, you want to be anticipating what could happen.
Oh, I think my instructor said it comes into everything, really.
Yeah, that's it. With your whole general driving, you've got to anticipate all the time. Okay, so with
this anticipation, you mentioned something about it's always tied into something. I can't remember.
With your mirrors, actually, yeah.
Oh,
so
mirrors.
If you're looking ahead of you, and you can anticipate that something's going to happen, you know that you may have to slow down for it. So you would check your mirrors.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because do you know why you're checking your mirrors?
See what's coming behind.
Yeah. Then if you have got to stop, you already know what's going on behind you, don't you? Yeah. Okay. So here we've got a meeting situation because we've got cars parked on the left-hand side.
Oh, right.
We can't keep to our normal road position, so we're going to meet with this car coming down because we're going to have to move ourselves over. Okay. So if you could see cars parked on your left and you could see a car coming towards you, you've got to anticipate that this car is going to continue because his road is clear. You've also got to anticipate that one of these cars could move off. You could have people stepping out of the car or stepping out from behind the car. When you come to a meeting situation, you want to hold back a couple of car lengths if you can, and you want to position yourself close to the centre line if you can as well, because that's going to give cars behind you a clue that you're waiting to pass, and also it's going to give you a clear view down the road as well. Okay. With adjusting your position, it means that you don't have to give a signal, because sometimes a signal can confuse people. For instance, if you had a junction here, people behind you might think you're turning into the junction rather than coming past the cars. Here, you've got parked cars on both sides of the road. So again, you'd be anticipating whether you've got enough time to pull into this gap here, whether you can do a rolling holdback, which means that you just slow your car right down, which is going to give this car enough room, enough time to get past his obstruction, and then you can carry on past yours. Okay. Clearance also comes into meeting because you don't want to pass the cars too closely. You want to.
Have you got a picture for that?
Yep. You want to be leaving enough room just in case a door was to open.
Oh, right.
Okay. Some roads you might come to, like this one, where you haven't got enough room to leave a door width, which in that case you would just reduce your speed and go through slowly, because then if you're reducing your speed, if something did happen, if a door did open or someone stepped out, you're already going at a slower pace. It's going to be quicker for you to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. And clearance also comes into when you're travelling in traffic, for instance. When you stop behind a car, you have a rule called tyres and tarmac, so that you're not stopping too closely to the car. In case they broke down or an ambulance come up behind you, you're going to have enough room to move yourself in. Okay, and also when you're travelling along, we use a rule called only a fool breaks the 2-second rule. Have you heard of that before? No. So this is, once this car here passes a stationary object like a lamppost, you start saying only a fool breaks the 2-second rule. If you pass that lamppost before you finish saying it, you know you're too close.
Oh.
So you find another stationary object, drop yourself back and say it again, and you want to be passing that lamppost once you finish saying that rule. Okay, if it's wet, it doubles, so you have to say only a fool breaks the 2-second rule, only a fool breaks the 2-second rule, because you need a bigger gap between the car because of stopping distances and more. Okay. Do you have any questions about any of those?
No, I'm sure you'll help me, won't you?
Yep. Okay, so if I get you to set yourself up.
Oh. Yep.
Okay, so what can you see in your interior mirror?
I can see the head lining at the top. See a bit of my head straight and a bit of yours. I can see that. I can spread the whole back window.
Okay, and what about your door mirrors?
I can see the sky at the top and the horizon in the middle.
Okay, and the left one?
Same.
Same. Good. Okay, so I get you to move on when you're ready.
End of the road, turning right.
Okay, at the end of the road we're going to turn right. So as we come to the end of this road, what sort of things could you be anticipating?
Right, just before we go. You know when I check my blind spot? Yeah?
Yeah.
You always trust your you're out teaching pupils at the moment, yeah?
No, I don't.
Right?
I always look, yeah.
And we're going to turn right.
Okay, we're going to turn right. Okay.
And turning right.
Right. So what sort of things could you anticipate in this new road?
I don't know really.
Okay. So we could have pedestrians trying to cross the road. A car could decide to pull out of a parking space or out of a driveway or something. If a pedestrian did step off the pavement, what would you do?
And turning left.
Turn left.
I should imagine I'll stop. You can't run a motor, can you?
No, you can't. So what happens if they were on the pavement waiting to cross? Would you ever wave them across?
I never knew them.
And what happens if there was a car coming the other way that hadn't seen them, or your friend hadn't seen that car? Shouldn't that be a safer decision? So we mustn't wave people across because we could be waving them into the path of another car. Okay.
His window's really dirty, isn't it? If it was clean, I'd be able to see the back of it and the hairs on the back of his head, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I ignored that because you come in with that car and it was tight.
Ignore what?
when you pulled out and you were close to that car.
Am I too close to it?
Yeah, we should have tyres and tarmac distance. You should, when you're stopping in traffic.
Oh, I've never done it before.
Okay, so on the next one, when we stop behind the car, we want to be able to see the back wheels, the back tyres of the car, and some of the road, because that's going to give us a good space to be able to pass them if they were to break down or if they were to roll back on a hill, because it's given us enough space. And also if an ambulance or a fire engine or something come up behind us with their sirens on, in this sort of traffic, if we had the gap, we'd be able to move ourselves over to the left to get out of the way. Okay. So when we stop, we're going to look for the tyres and the road. Okay. So it's not stopping. Okay. So can you remember why we want to see the tyres and the tarmac?
Just trying to get used to it. Is it too close?
So we're looking for the tyres on the back of the car, and we want to be able to see the road. So stop there.
Stop there. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, sorry.
Can you see now, if that car was to break down in front of us, we'd be able to move ourselves out.
Oh yeah, because that's a Vauxhall, they break down quite a lot, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And then also, if an ambulance come up behind us now, we've got enough space to move ourselves over to the left to let them pass us.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we start moving, we're going to use this only a 4 brakes to 2 second rule. Okay.
What's that?
We're going to have this car pass a stationary object, and then we're going to say only a 4 brakes to 2 second rule, and then we pass that stationary object. Okay? So if this car's pulled in, he's filled our gap, so we need to drop back. Once he passes something stationary, so remember your tyres and tarmac. Can you remember why we're keeping tyres and tarmac?
Because he breaks down.
What else?
Ambulances.
What about if we're on a hill as well? If we roll back?
Oh, you might roll back, yeah.
So the car passes a stationary object like a lamppost or a road sign or a bin or something like that. You say only a 4 brakes to 2 second rule. If you've passed that same stationary object before you finish saying,
even at this speed.
This speed, you want to be, I can't remember, a car length away, 2 car lengths away.
I'm not too close at the moment, am I?
You need to be able to stop in the distance you can see clear. So if you are quite close to that car and he put his brakes on and you stopped partially, would you have enough time to also stop?
Oh yeah. I'm studying for my theory.
So that's stopping distance.
At 10 mile an hour, it takes me 20 feet to stop.
Okay.
Left to the right.
And we're going to go left at the roundabout. Drop back from the car, we'll use the 2 second rule. Okay. So when this car passes the 40 sign, we're going to say only a 4 brakes the 2 second rule. Okay. So we've got a reasonable distance from the car in front. So you know, the faster you're going, the bigger that gap's going to be, because your stopping distance is long. And also when it's wet, it doubles. So you say the rule twice.
Is that important?
We want to be keeping a safe distance behind the car, because if they were to stop suddenly, we need to give ourselves enough room to also be able to stop without hitting that car. So do you think here, if this car stopped?
Yeah, I think at the speed I can stop, can I? Does the fact that Mini behind me is very close make any difference?
If you've got a car that's quite close behind you, you want to increase your gap, because then you can start.
You mean get closer?
No, increase the gap, so you drop back a bit.
Oh, I've lost them now.
So we want to increase the gap between the car in front of us and the car behind us.
How do I do that?
You reduce your speed, which is going to slow you down, which is going to make the gap between the car in front of us and us bigger. Because then, if we need to brake, we can brake sooner, which is going to give that car behind more warning.
Then let's just go faster and get away from them.
But then if that car in front of you is to brake and you're going faster, you're making the gap smaller, which is going to give you less time to stop. So what distance are we going to keep from the car if we stop?
Tyres and tarmac.
Do you remember the reason for that?
That's BMW, they never break down, do they? So it'll be an ambulance or a fire engine. Won't it?
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you could roll back though, couldn't you?
Good. So we know that this car behind us is following us quite closely, isn't he? So we're
It's a her.
or her. Let's see how. We're going to increase our gap with the car in front,
Yeah.
so that we can give her more
I think she's
warning that we're
texting.
stopping. Yeah. So she's not going to be very observant then.
No.
If we're braking sooner, we're going to give her more warning, and then she's got more chance of stopping without crashing into the back of us.
She might be texting you a number on top of the car and booking a lesson.
And she'll drive well, unless she's booking it for someone else. We're using the 2-second rule.
So if they stop, I can stop.
Yeah. What would you do if it's wet? What would you do about the 2-second rule?
4 seconds.
So how would you work? Would you say only a full breaks the 4-second rule, or would you double? Would you
Did
say
you
it
know I'm
twice?
Irish? No, I say it twice, don't I?
What's the reason for us increasing the gap when it's wet as well?
Well, I know from my moped it takes longer to stop in the wet.
Yeah. What about in the ice or the snow?
My moped, I normally leave it at home in icy snow.
And if you couldn't leave your car at home, or if you were stranded and you had to go over in the snow or the ice, how would you gauge a distance?
I'll probably give you a ring and ask you how far back I should stay back.
So you
But I'd pull over somewhere safe first.
You want to, the stopping distances with ice and snow can increase up to 10 times.
Oh, that many times.
That's why they say it's best to leave your car at home,
Oh.
because it's such a long stopping distance. It's safer, just in case you couldn't. It could be more than 10 times, you never know. speed, if this car behind us gets quite close to us, what are we going to do with our gap?
Increase it.
And what's the reason for that?
Because she's not concentrating. She'll probably run the back of me. Left and around.
We're going to go left at the roundabout. So what would you anticipate here being in this new road? So we've got a cycle path here on the left.
There could be cyclists around, couldn't there?
So how much clearance would you give a cyclist?
Yeah, as long as they don't knock them off a couple of inches.
So what happens if they had to avoid a pothole and they swerved out as you were passing them a couple of inches away? Do you think you'd end up hitting them?
So a couple of inches is not enough.
No, you want to be at least two car door widths away.
That far.
Yeah, because if they could swerve around the pothole or they could hit the pothole and fall off, they're going to spread out further across the road, aren't they? And also travelling quite close to them, you could scare them as well. Make them jump and then they could wobble off. So we had the school zigzags there, and it's a Sunday. We could have Sunday school. What sort of thing could you anticipate around there?
Sunday school and our children. And we're going to take the second on the right, this being the first.
We're going to take the next road on the right. Okay. So looking into this road, what sort of things can you anticipate?
Anything really.
So we've got parked cars, haven't we? So we want to be giving the cars a door's width. So still door's width.
Is that too close?
Yeah, you want to have a door's width away from the car, okay? Because if we're too close to the car, so steer over to you. You want to check your mirror as well before you go round, just in case anyone's overtaking you. But if you're too close to the car, if the door was to open, you're going to. So watch this car.
You waved at me.
So that was to say he was saying sorry to you. You want to have a door's width. So steer over to you.
Turning left.
Okay, we're going to turn left. So I'm going to help you find a reference to make sure that we've got the correct distance from these parked cars, okay?
Must be important because you seem to keep mentioning it quite a lot.
Yeah, because if a door was to open, we're going to hit the door, aren't we?
No.
So I'm going to get you to bring your speed down to Old Man's Walking Pace. And we'll stop here. Okay. So can you tell me where the outer wheel of this blue car is coming into your car? Yeah. So this is a reference to make sure you're passing the parked car at a door's width away, because if the door was to open, we could hit the door